The thing to keep in mind though is IoT devices tend to be very power and cost sensitive. So as architects, you always have to have a fine balance between how much compute do you put at the edge, how much memory do you put at the edge from a cost standpoint.
Hey, this is Martha DeGrasse here again for Wi-Fi Alliance, and this is The Signal, our podcast where we bring you the inside track on Wi-Fi. These are meant to be smart conversations with industry leaders. We want to deliver a new perspective on the growing portfolio of Wi-Fi technologies and applications that we see changing the connectivity landscape. And today we are thrilled to welcome Irvind Ghai back to The Signal. He is VP of Wi-Fi at Silicon Labs. Irvind, if you could tell us a little bit about your role at Silicon Labs, that would be great.
Thank you, Martha. It's good to be back with you at CES. My name to the audience is Irvind Ghai. I'm responsible for the Wi-Fi product line at Silicon Labs. I think many of your listeners, Martha, know us as leaders in Bluetooth, Zigbee, Z-Wave, sub-gigahertz. My focus at the company is on Wi-Fi, especially multi-protocol Wi-Fi, and how it leverages AI, ML at the edge. And now with the advent of vector, that's another growth vector for us. And one of the things, in addition to talking to you today in Vegas, is meeting customers at CES who are working on some of the applications we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, there is a lot of IoT on that show floor, so I think we should start with hearing about how Wi-Fi is enabling new IoT applications and devices.
Yes. The good thing is the transition from Wi-Fi 4 to Wi-Fi 6 in the IoT space is going full force, and all those designs we've talked about in the past are products that should be available in the market shortly. A lot of that is driven by home, and I think, like you and I'll probably discuss, industrial, commercial market segments are going to be next.
Excellent. Okay. And how is Wi-Fi being optimized for the IoT? I know every time that we've had you on the podcast, you've had a lot to say about IoT in both the consumer and the industrial space. But you're a great person to give us a little bit of background on how Wi-Fi is actually being optimized for these devices and these applications.
Definitely. From our perspective at Silicon Labs, we actually start customizing it right at the architecture level. If you take a look at what are some of the Wi-Fi requirements for IoT, they include low power. And what that means for us as the design philosophy is looking at the design as a subsystem approach. And those subsystem approaches are actually optimized for different power domains. And what this means is you can turn on and off different portions of the circuitry to make sure you're consuming the least amount of power. And then from a implementation perspective, it can lead to different power states, deep sleep, standby associated, and multiple MCU states. This gives the people creating the applications a lot of flexibility on how much power to use and when to use it. From an algorithm standpoint, Martha, we take what's known as dynamic gear shifting. And what that can do is, based on the processing requirements at the time, it can go into one of these different power states. So all that helps make it not only a very strong processing device, but a very power optimized device as well. And then I think some of the other features that are customized are security. In our environment, there's so many IoT devices, and your security is only as strong as the weakest link. So in terms of our new platform, it means including support for PSA-L2. At a Wi-Fi level, that means WPA3 support. At a device level, secure boot, secure zone. All these are considerations we take right at the design level to customize the Wi-Fi product in the IoT market.
Yeah, I remember last time you were on the podcast, you told us that the most important metric for your customers with these IoT devices is low power consumption for standby associated. So that's what you're talking about, right?
Exactly. And many people take that to mean that that's just for battery operated devices. That's not true.
Okay.
Of course, low power is very critical because you don't want to have to change your battery every 6 months, every year. But at the same time, it also is European power requirements are very stringent.
And they're getting more so,
More
right?
stringent, and then green energy in general. So our focus on low power helps our customers, not just for battery-operated applications, but just overall in IoT.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, another thing we talked about last time that is very important here at CES is AI and ML. And more of that, I think, is moving to the device, away from the cloud. So what can you share with us about Wi-Fi driven machine learning and the compute optimizations for those IoT edge applications?
I think actually you captured the value in the question itself. There is a lot of value in having AI and ML be at the edge for a very simple reason. The more intelligence you can put at the edge means the more decisions and choices you can move away from the cloud. And when you move that away from the cloud, you're saving money, you're saving power, and some will argue there's more privacy, and all that's taken into account.
And aren't you saving time too? Like
You're
latency?
saving time, definitely. You can make real-time decisions at the edge itself. I'll give you an example why this is important. Just tying back to the low power discussion we just had. With ML, the IoT device can take into account the fixed environment it is in and over time learn and optimize the power states that best suit it for that market.
Okay.
The other applications that we see a lot of demand for with AI ML is predictive maintenance for industrial, wake words. You're also seeing it for motion detection, and you're seeing it for image classification. So there's a lot of simple applications that could be done at the edge itself. The thing to keep in mind, though, is IoT devices tend to be very power and cost sensitive. So as architects, you always have to have a fine balance between how much compute do you put at the edge, how much memory do you put at the edge from a cost standpoint. And we at Silicon Labs tend to use a mixture of hardware accelerators, compute, processing, and flexible amounts of memory to make sure, in addition to being able to do AI and ML at the edge, we are still keeping it in the right power and cost profile.
That's
a trade-off.
That's what everyone works toward, right?
Yeah.
All right, excellent. I know that in the consumer space, a lot of IoT devices often have to coexist in a smart home situation. Is that true in the industrial space as well?
It definitely is. And what that means, practically speaking, is that it's not just Wi-Fi. It's also Bluetooth. It's also Zigbee. So there's different wireless connectivities that have to coexist.
Okay.
And I think you've heard me talk in the past about we not only focus on Wi-Fi, but multi-protocol Wi-Fi. The reason we always highlight that is many of our customers are using Bluetooth at the same time as Wi-Fi. They are using Zigbee, and those have to coexist. Many of these technologies, as you know, Martha, are using the 2.4 gigahertz band. And even though they might have different channel modulation or they might be using different frequency, different bandwidths, when they're co-located, they can overlap. So what that means for our customers is to get them to time master, we can work to solve the coexisting issue prior to their design, maybe at a module level, which helps with the applications.
Okay, excellent. Now, in the consumer space, Matter is part of that coexistence, right? How is Wi-Fi enabling Matter, and how is Matter enabling Wi-Fi?
Sure.
Or maybe we should just start with what Matter is, in case anyone doesn't know.
Yes, I think we've talked about that one, so hopefully they do. But Matter is a protocol that sits, IP protocol that
It's an
can sit
overlay,
over,
right? That's how you've explained it to
over
me in the
Wi-Fi,
past. Yeah.
over Thread,
Gotcha.
over different technologies. And the benefit is that it doesn't really matter. Sorry, I didn't mean to say
Matter doesn't matter. Don't say that.
But what I meant is that the protocol that it's sitting on doesn't matter, really. I mean, that's the value that is brought here. They can talk to each other. And I think to your question, why is Wi-Fi helping drive Matter, even though it's IP and it can sit on top of other protocols, is very simple. Wi-Fi is ubiquitous.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's given what the Wi-Fi Alliance has brought about from a certification process. It's just everywhere. That means you have Wi-Fi devices from every known vendor, different standards, and that's the value Matter brings. It can sit on top of that Wi-Fi product regardless of who the vendor is, and it can make the devices talk to each other. Now, if you just take a smart home, for example, you will have thermostats, you will have window sensors, smart locks, smart blinds, maybe an EV charger, and all of those devices tend to be Wi-Fi enabled. So if you can have Matter sitting on top of those and helping those smart sensors on the window communicate to the thermostat, hey, the window is open, that helps. And that's the value that Matter is bringing. And given the fact that Wi-Fi is everywhere and it's making Wi-Fi do even more benefit to the consumer, is why Matter's taking off. I mean, if you just take a look at the 2,000 Matter devices that are certified today, the bulk of them are Wi-Fi. So I think they are both complementing each other.
2,000 SKUs or 2,000?
Devices, yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it easier for the consumer as well, right? Because most people don't buy all their smart home devices the same day. They add them over time. So it's nice to be able to add something, whether or not it's from the same manufacturer or even the same connectivity standard as something that you already have in your home, right?
You're absolutely correct. And it doesn't even have to be that, hey, I'm an Apple person or I'm a Samsung person. Matter is helping bridge the ecosystems as well. No, I agree with you.
Now, does Matter have applications in the industrial space or not really?
We are starting to see some.
Okay.
But so far, it's still more in the smart home.
Gotcha.
But I'll give you an example. We've talked about smart locks in the past.
Yeah.
And Matter is finding its way into that space. Now, sometimes the enterprise guys talk to us that, hey, in a hospitality environment, if you already have smart locks with Matter, how can we work that into our Wi-Fi enterprise access points to get some benefit, some feature? So it is more in the home side, but I think over the next couple of years, we'll start seeing a foray into the industrial markets and the commercial markets as well.
Okay, something to watch. All right, you've talked about a lot of IoT applications, but are there any new IoT applications that you're seeing here at the show or hearing about other places that Wi-Fi is enabling?
Yeah, so I mean, the volume, to be blunt right now, is coming out of the home.
Okay.
So that means locks. We talked about smart blinds. We talked about applications like cameras, doorbells, things of that sort. But we are starting to see more of a push, for example, into wearables, especially as you see Wi-Fi 6 coming on board with the power save modes and also dual band where it's less congestion. And I think we talked about our architecture tends to put in a SoC approach for processing to save power internally. That lends itself into the wearable markets as well. The other big area of growth is appliances.
Okay.
And that's actually growing very, very fast. And then if you take a look at industrial, predictive maintenance is starting to show up from an IoT Wi-Fi use case. The other big one that people know about in the back of their heads, but they probably don't see it yet, and we do, is smart metering. There is so much government money across the globe that's gone into making energy more efficient, and it tends to be a little bit of a longer product cycles, but there's a lot of work being done in that space as well. I think we're just not too long. We have another set of applications coming for Wi-Fi in IoT, and more importantly, more volumes coming in the IoT for Wi-Fi space.
Yeah. Can I just go back to what you were saying about wearables? Are those mostly watches or like health monitoring patches?
It's a little bit of watches, of course, and the fitness are one. But the other one that you're starting to see is medical personal care devices.
Okay, yeah.
Over-the-counter, things of that sort. I think those are a little bit longer from a product cycle standpoint, given the design times. But that's another big market, especially if you take a look at the demographics and aging populations from that perspective.
And in a lot of those devices, does Wi-Fi need to coexist with another connectivity chipset or just only
Usually
Wi-Fi?
Bluetooth is always there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think it necessarily has to be a different chipset because the design should be within the same device and, like we talked earlier, coexist.
Very nice. Okay, what are you looking forward to the most here at CES?
A lot of customer meetings, and it's always good. From a silicon vendor perspective, we have the luxury of being able to see the new devices and new applications coming out 12 to 18 months in advance.
Yeah.
So it's always good to see customers and see where that development is, what we can help to accelerate them to market.
Very nice. All right, Irvind Ghai, Silicon Labs, thank you so much for joining us here at CES on The Signal.
Thank you, Martha. I appreciate it.
And that is our show. Don't forget to check the show notes for more resources and be sure to follow The Signal on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And, of course, at the Wi-Fi Alliance. That's y-fi.org. I'm Martha DeGrasse here for the Wi-Fi Alliance. Thank you so much for listening to The Signal, and please join us next time.